Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Expanded Understanding, episode number 38. I'm Zach,
I'm Aaron.
and we do stuff on the internet.
Every night.
So, yeah, the music that you heard, that's Reinhard Burr. Definitely check him out. ReinhardtBuhr. He does improvisational live looping and stuff, and that's really the whole reason we can play it on the channel, because you can't, what he does is random, so it's not copyrighted. So, at any rate, his music is really good. He does have some albums. His album's really cheap. You should check him out. He's a good guy. Yeah. So, what's going on today in the world, Aaron?
Riverside, California, it's insanely hot in the middle of the day, like 90s, but we went walking for several hours in the middle of the day because it was really hot. And there were tubes. There are concrete tubes that we got to play in that made lots of really cool sounds. And it's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet in diameter. They're pretty big. Walking them almost. Of course, squat walk. And then went up there several times, did the singing bowls and the flutes. And the second time we went up there with Joe, was it 4 of us that went up there? We're all in there. And then, did you find out if you got any of those samples? Any of those show up?
Nope.
We'll find out. Because then Zach's going to do some improvisational live looping music as well, because it's going to come out soon.
I'm probably going to go record a lot more stuff when it's more like I can get a clean recording of one instrument to put them together. We were kind of playing around doing stuff at the same time, so that's not really what we're looking for.
The group sounds wouldn't work for live looping. Except for Joe. Joe played my flute very well. I've never had someone handle my flute as well as Joe handled my flute.
Yeah, I mean, they work for being like it's got many instruments, but really the core of live looping or anything like that. I really need to move this mic. Haven't gotten to it yet because there's supposed to be another mic stand here soon. But nevertheless, you're adding layers of different stuff. So if you already have many layers into the same thing, then you can't.
Then I guess it wouldn't work like that. But it's a cool idea to do single sounds up in that place because it was really cool.
It's better really like if you're trying to live loop it, the only you either want single notes or you want it to be like a complex melody that's already made, and then you can pick that apart or whatever. But the more isolated the sound, the better. So
makes sense. Hi Jasmine, hi Charlotte, hi White Crow Wing, which is Angela, which is in the Willow, and Kevin, Paranormal Portals, and who else we got?
Charlotte.
Hi Charlotte, Tiffany, Joseph, Detz, who's also right there in real life.
Yeah.
He plays the flute well. Hey Jacob.
Jacob as well. Good to see all of you tonight. Yeah. Sound. It's weird. We were using like multiple singing bowls and flutes in this tube at the same time, and it definitely creates some really cool resonance. Some overtoning can be engaged with that if you do the right tones. We were just kind of playing the stuff that we had, so we weren't getting the greatest overtoning in some cases. Joe and Jen were both like playing just specific single notes on their flutes, which is creating really, really weird overtoning, which it's crazy because it kind of makes you understand how like a bird sings so effectively. If you try to like whistle like a bird, it's really hard to hit notes as quickly as they do. But when you hear like really clear overtoning, you hear it do this like flutter thing inside of there, and that flutter gets leveraged a lot in bird whistling. And so it's definitely a really cool fucking sound. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I got to lay down the tube and go into sleep state, and that was great. I don't know how long it lasted, but it was very refreshing and pretty cool to be surrounded by all the sounds. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's like a sound bath tube.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I've had quite a number of sound baths, but usually they were just in pretty like normal room. It's interesting to have the room playing in with it too. The room's so big, but like with sound recording, everything. I mean, like when you do even studio recording, there's most recording studios, like they have their walls built in a certain way, or they'll even, if they're a really full service studio, they'll have basically like a part of their wall or multiple parts of their walls where they can actually hang like plates and other shit like this that changes the way that the room sounds or the way that the sound reverberates. And a lot of times this is done in post nowadays because we've gotten in post-production. So they'll just get like a really clear recording of whatever the thing is and then add all this stuff in post. But there are definitely some nuances to the sound that you can't really generate the same in post because you really like want it to be organic to what the material is, like, and especially with like some really popular studios, like places where like the Beatles recorded and stuff, you really like there's like an organic sound that studio has, and replicating that specific organic sound is like impossible.
Sure. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, like, it's probably as a byproduct, like the plates they have on their wall aren't even actually flat, right? Like they have
Right.
imperfections to them, but those imperfections have become the perfection, really, in that case. So, yeah, the space you're in is always such a big deal when you think about what you're creating. You could say, you know, more broadly, but it's really important in sound.
Acoustics in dome-shaped rooms.
Yeah, if you're trying to even set up like your home stereo and you want it to be really nice, you want to take into account, you know, basically how the space is working or how you're going to be filling the space if you want to get the best sound throughout the whole area. So,
Kevin
man,
knows.
I mean, I don't understand how everyone's not just like a total geek for sound. Like, it's really just so cool. I mean, even just on the level of music, you know, like, I think a lot of people probably haven't really like fully experienced it, you know, where I'm just meaning that
Like
they,
player level experience.
not necessarily even anything like that, but even just like having a really good pair of headphones
Yeah. Yeah.
and then listening to a really high quality recording through a really good pair of headphones. You hear like parts of the music and nuances in the music that maybe you never even heard before, you know, and really like those things really just add this depth and range kind of to the experience that when you really have all of it working together, like you got like crazy overtones and good acoustics inside of the room, and all of these things are kind of resonating together in the right spot, it really ends up becoming a very, very interesting experience. But even just like really good music and a really good set of headphones, I don't think a lot of people have even experienced music really at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jasmine says when she hears the show on her beats, it sounds way better.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually have like good mics and stuff like this, so really like there's a good chance that if you're wearing standard headphones or something, they're probably just literally not good enough to pick up the same range that even like we're recording.
Right.
So if you, yeah, and then I mean the music, like I mean I'm usually listening to our intros on like my open air speakers, and so it really matters to me whether or not it sounds good. You know, I got like, blasting through my whole area, so you know, nevertheless. Really, if you haven't ever experienced sound through a high quality pair of headphones or speakers, you know, maybe consider making that investment, especially if you use sound for like meditation and shit like this. That extra range that a good quality pair of speakers or headphones can really provide. That really, I mean, obviously, if you're having like a high quality sound experience in real life, and when I say real life, I mean that the instruments are being played live without any amplification. As soon as you start amplifying them, it all comes to how the speakers are set up and what the quality of the speakers are, right? So, you know, this is why even like modern like open air festivals and stuff like that, like at the end of the day, like open air festival, not the greatest sound experience. You know, you're trying to fill an impossible space with this sound, and so it's just constant fall off. No utilization of the reverberation in the space. You gotta have tons of gain and tons of amplification on everything because you're trying to get the noise 2,000 feet away,
Right.
and stuff like that. Like it's just not the, you know, it's just not the same.
It's not
So,
the same, man. It's true.
Like, yeah, sound bath at Integration was amazing. Are you aware the picture is bad and blurry? That probably, if is anything, it has to do with my upload speed, which I can't do anything about. So, if that is the case, none of my settings have been changed at all. Wow.
Is that other the Reinhardt video going? That wouldn't affect the upload though, probably.
No, I have no idea why my internet connection could possibly be that bad.
Well, maybe go to the smaller screen and put something on in the big one. Oh, maybe that works. That actually seems
The
better.
mics are blocking your mouth. The mics are blocking our mouth because that's how it should be when you're creating any kind of studio quality recording. You don't need to see our mouths, really.
It's a balance. It is important. We'll figure it out. But the audio is highly important also.
Yeah. I'm going to have this mic in front of my mouth for every other podcast that you ever see me on ever. It's never going to move.
Because this is Zach's spot. This is his home. This is his trailer, his van. My van doesn't have a mic, so I'll probably still mute my headset at times. But ideally, the mics, because they sound so nice.
I've tried dropping the quality of our video in hopes that makes it any better. It does.
It does. We literally took it from 720p to 360, and it looks better, which is not ideal, but it is what it is right now.
Yeah, it's what it is. Hopefully, wherever I am at next has 50,000 times the upload as this place, and then you'll see that the video quality will be much better because I'll use a completely different camera that's a billion times better than this. Can't see Zach's mouth regardless because of his beard. Yeah, not wrong actually. So, yeah.
High Frequency higher up made a comment about sound room in Minnesota, I think. Right there, yeah.
There's a room, I think, in Minnesota, blocks out 99.9% of sound. If you stay there for longer than 40 minutes, 45 minutes, they say you hallucinate, and most people have to run out. Yeah, most people don't make it anywhere near 45 minutes in that room. They make it like not even 4 or 5 minutes.
We probably pull up a picture of it. I think
a lot of people have a lot of problems with that kind of stuff. Yeah,
what's it called? It's like it's got all those, and it's got a mesh floor because it's got like sound stuff underneath the floor also.
Yeah, it's just got sound dampening stuff all over the walls. So. It is kind of a neat look.
Yeah, I kind of like that one.
What? I hate how some images are on the internet now. Like they're on places where if I go to this and I'd let it load and then I open it in a new place, then it would be bigger. But nevertheless, whatever. We're going to go ahead and bring this picture up. These are the rooms that she's talking about functionally.
The anechoic room.
So all of the stuff on the walls is sound dampening, floor is sound dampened, everything's massively sound dampened, and the whole idea is to try and get as much sound as possible out of the place. The weird thing about rooms like this are that like you can hear your own blood spinning through your body, and that's really unsettling to a lot of people actually.
Kind of weird, like salvia. So weird. People freak out and they don't know what to do. The room turns
honestly,
into a pants
like if we get really direct about it, most humans freak out whenever something that they are not completely familiar with is happening. They're deathly afraid of any type of novelty, and they live their life inside of super tight structures so that they can have basically Groundhog Day happen every day so that they can feel safe about their lives. So going into a room where it's like, I realize that my body makes enormous amounts of noise to the level where it's actually like quite annoying to me. Obviously, the answer to them is just get the hell out of here as quickly as possible. So it's it's good for meditation. You can generate this same thing in certain places in nature as well. Like deep caves, definitely do this as well, especially if you're not, in there by yourself or with other people who are fine with being, like whisper quiet the whole time. You can get it super duper quiet in some natural places and get like kind of the same effects. It's probably a lot of the reason why like the Zen monk meditating in the cave, it probably wasn't just like any old cave. It was probably a cave that really caused him to engage themselves.
Speaking of caves and toning and stuff, so in Barbados with Angela, who's in the group by the way right now in the chat. Hi Angela. And we were in Barbados last year, and also hi Jenny Miller's here too. We went to the caves down in Barbados, and I think the one of the big things about them is that they're coral caves, or the whole island's made of coral or something. I mean, it's not traditional coral. It looks like it's stone also, I guess, but the whole island or something. Anyhow, we went on a more of a private tour instead of just the main hallways and the main tours. We were able to crawl through certain areas, through a bunch of like there's a bunch of clay. I'm trying to think, like ancient clay has all these minerals, like wiping that all over our faces and our arms and swimming through little areas. And they were semi-lit up, but it was definitely a really cool, unique tour. And we got down to a big cavern. Let's see, we got down and he turned off all the lights, the guides, and there was a big pool, probably the size of this, I don't know, twice the size of the trailer. And we were able to go swim. We all went swimming in there. And there's a huge waterfall coming from the ceiling out of a hole, like, I don't know, like that big from the ceiling. But it's dropping like 30 feet. So and when I went underneath it, it's like ice crystals are like hitting your head because it's really sharp, the water hitting your head. But anyway, we were in that room and we were toning, like all the lights out and toning in the water. And it's an incredible feeling, like through your whole being in that place and feeling just the tones, not just in you, but from other people, the compression waves from actual vocals, not just a recording, and just that whole dynamic is really, really cool, really powerful.
Yeah. Even good headphones and good speakers can't do justice to actually live. Just live, no amp, really good quality.
Yeah.
the true lossless audio. That's the way to go, man. Like I love spaces like that where like it's not just, well, there's just so many things coming together making it a great space. You know, not only is it kind of like some cave thing in here, that there's like coral and stuff inside of the caverns, and there's like this, tiny little waterfall, right? All these kinds of things coming together. Like it's just such an interesting space. There's lots of these like pictures of these, they're down in South America and Mexico and stuff. These caves, there's like a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And it goes down there, and then down inside of it, it's like the fucking Blue Lagoon.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
Like,
Resident Science Foundation's got a
Man, I could spend like my whole life just going to a different one of those every day, I think. I don't know. I mean, I'd probably get bored of it after like 2 weeks, but,
I'd probably spend my whole life doing that. I'd probably get bored after.
yeah, as soon as I said that, I was like, wait a minute. Like, would you really?
Welcome to the story of our lives. Yeah.
You probably want to do all that. Yeah.
But it sounds like it'd be cool to do.
Yeah, I mean, they would be just super cool, though, just to hang out in. Like, talk about the ultimate swimming spot. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, Angela said she cried in the corner swimming.
Yeah.
I was crying under the waterfall. It was really powerful. It was incredibly emotive. I don't know. It's very, very visceral. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
these places really kind of, that are like nature expressing itself fully, almost seem to kind of entice us to express ourselves as well in a certain way. So I think it's...
Hey, we have a new chat person. That's where the mouse is on right now.
Yeah, Taya. I know Taya in real life.
Cool. I know
Hi,
Taya
Taya.
digitally.
Good to see you.
Hi, Taya. Good to meet you.
So yeah, sound. I'm a huge nerd for sound. Aaron recently bought speakers for over here, and as a byproduct of this other stuff, I ended up getting better headphones too. So my sound experience has massively increased over recent times. I'm very, very psyched about it. So I listen to music a good 25 decibels louder now. That's every time I listen to it. That's for sure. So, I probably won't have ears at some point in time, but I guess we all won't have ears at some point in time. So might as well get some quality use out of it. Beats are horrible to mix with, but I know one sound engineer who perfected a system using them. Yeah, it's kind of like about like knowing your shit and knowing what you need to use along with it, I think, really. But yeah, they are. I mean, I think you're talking about bass heavy headphones. They are definitely very bass heavy. Subwoofers on your head. That's what a lot of people want from music nowadays. I mean, like, you think about the dubstep, you think about the trap music, stuff like this. There's a lot of people listening to those two kinds of music alone, and they're two completely different demographics in a certain way. And just I mean, this shit's all about bass, really. What headphones would you recommend? This is so subjective to what it is that you're doing with them, really. I mean, Kevin probably has some incredibly well thought out recommendations. Sennheiser is a very, very safe company to go with if you're looking for extremely high quality audio, like Kevin just said there. They've kind of been a standard in audio for a long time of like, if it's Sennheiser, it's really, really good. Having said that, they have made some like more like consumer level pairs at this point in time, and they're probably better than the other consumer level pairs at the price point. But if you really want to be getting the full Sennheiser experience, expect to fork out more than you have for other headphones, pretty much. Several $100s for the pair of headphones. I know there is some cheaper pairs of Sennheisers out there now, but if you take time reading reviews and stuff, you'll find that it's not that they're bad headphones by any stretch of the imagination. Again, like I said, they're probably the best in the price point area. But
when I kind of lucked out with the ones I got, the other ones that I wear when I'm doing the headset, they're the newer Bose model that just came out this year, and I was looking at the other ones from last year. And this one that came out, so not only does it sound really good, and the noise canceling thing, so it's almost, so I've done overhead earphones, and yeah, it cancels out some noise, but I've always felt like earbuds almost do it better because they seal your ear, and then it's just less volume to get if you're not looking for all the fine sounds and whatever. But having the overhead earphones and the fact that the audio sounds great for phone calls and things, it's not choppy because the speakers or the mics are all in the actual around the ear.
Mm-hmm.
And so it picks up surprisingly well, which is really nice because usually the good headphones I've found have just shitty mics. Even Beats or different things just have shitty like phone mics, and that's not what you're looking for. That's fine, but that's another dynamic that matters for my setup anyway, especially doing the podcast stuff.
Yeah, usually unless they have a boom mic, the audio quality not so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of times even the boom mic's pretty trash too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, especially compared to these, you get spoiled.
Yeah, I mean,
find this in a
any kind of mic you have in a headset's gonna suck in comparison to an XLR condenser mic. Like
Yeah.
it's just not. It's not even the same stratosphere. It's it's comparing spaceships to.
We'll wire this up to the headset. Just have it off a chin strap, something.
Yeah,
Big
and you
condenser
just carry around something with 48-volt phantom power in your pocket,
work.
and you just stay connected to the wall the whole time with like a 2,000-foot extension cord that's just hanging out.
Everywhere. Yeah.
It's mobile, but you
And
drag
sounds awesome.
100 pounds of stuff with you everywhere. Yeah, I don't know. It seems that you can run all the stuff that we are running through a phone, so you might have to figure out some driver issues and such that I have yet to figure out for my own setup, but, you know, I have a million things to do. But then you could run something exactly like this if you wanted to. So, yeah, sure, why not?
Sure. Somebody can figure it out. There's an idea. Do it.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. That's if you want good sound quality, that's what you're gonna end up doing though. You need basically powered mics. You can get like mics that have built-in power, so those can be okay. You wouldn't use exactly what we're using here though. not for a smooth setup like that. So Sennheiser though, good headphones for sure. Yeah, like he's saying, decent entry level starts off at $99. They go up to $1K, and probably where you start really feeling that Sennheiser quality is in this like $200-300 range like that. And then of course, like in the $1,000 range, you're like, what the fuck? Headphones can sound like this?
Yeah.
Maybe chill out on those unless you already know that you're like a massive sound nerd or you're making money off of doing stuff with sound.
So the sound canceling on the Bose headset is really, really good. I mean, just turning it on, not even any music, because whatever it does with the taking in the frequencies from outside, or I don't know, whatever it does to mute out the frequencies, so you do different levels. But at the highest level, I mean, it's almost dead silent inside your ear set, even when there's a lot of sound going on outside. So it's pretty impressive.
I'm not entirely sure, but if they're doing that the same way that a lot of people do that, which is basically by white noise cancellation, then it's probably also depreciating the quality of the sound when noise canceling is on, like the sound that they're producing, because they're producing a purposely white noise frequency inside of there. So like the noise canceling, if you're looking for maximum audio quality, maybe there's some other way of doing it. I don't know. I don't know anywhere near everything about sound. But if they do it like some things do it, then it will cause depreciation to the audio quality to run the sound canceling stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking for full range audio. You don't want to be canceling sound.
Well, it depends on what they do.
You know
if they're
what I
just
mean?
canceling external sounds, they're matching the frequency of whatever. They're just bouncing back.
They can't cancel external sounds from internally while also not canceling sounds from internally. There's not a way to do
music would
that.
sound a lot different though, like noticeably different. Maybe it does some people and just doesn't to me. I don't know.
So I'm saying, like I said, maybe
Yeah.
there's some way that they're doing it that doesn't have to do
Oh, I
with
gotcha.
basically playing like a white noise cancellation frequency. And if that was the case, maybe this wouldn't be the case. But if they're playing two sounds out of the same source and one of them is purposely canceling sound, then it's going to potentially cancel some of the frequencies that you would
makes
be
sense.
hearing.
Yeah.
So it's in the past, this stuff's basically done like a low pass or a high pass filter, right? Like when you have the headphone over your ear, everything outside kind of becomes this. So if you cancel everything that's below the frequency that tops out at, then outside sounds like absolutely nothing.
Right.
So
Which is what they
maybe
sound
there's another way of doing it. Again, like I said,
I don't know.
I don't know anywhere near everything about sound. I know like 1% about sound, so not good enough. But yeah, earbuds do work pretty good for stuff, but they are definitely a different experience from an over-ear headphone. And I don't know. I think binaural beats work better with over-ear headphones in terms of them affecting your brain. But over-ear headphones are oftentimes like uncomfortable to keep on your head for a long time.
Yeah.
So, kind of,
Now, the
I don't know. There's
earbuds
pluses
have
and
always
minuses everywhere.
worked out really well for me. Cheap earbuds. I mean, like $5 earbuds. Not only does the sound fine for most things, the mic usually works better than like $100 Beats earbuds for whatever reason.
Sure.
For
Yeah.
phone, daily phone use or whatever.
Yeah, when it comes to earbuds, like I don't spring on the old earbuds really.
Well, I've been shocked how much
cheapest
like the
ones
cheap,
possible.
the cheap $5-$10 earbuds, like sound is fine because you're obviously paying $10. You know the sound's not going to be some kind of amazing thing. It sounds totally fine, and the mic is amazingly clearer than a lot of Bluetooth sets I'll get or like whatever. It's just way, way, way better.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nice though that only costs a few bucks.
There's always like the diamonds in the rough too. That
Mhm.
they probably should cost a lot more with how good they do actually sound or
Yeah.
how sturdy they are, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, if you're really trying to get that good sound quality though, you want the over ear headphones and like, I think that's the way to go. That's always been the way to go for me. I was the kid who like would even back when I had a Discman, I had like some big ass headphones to go along with it. Like I was like a little kid. Like my headphones are as big as my body.
Hmm.
Walking around listening to rap music in huge headphones.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, wishing I was like a DJ.
Do you hear him setting off fireworks? The neighbors. Just a few seconds ago.
Did I? Yeah,
Okay.
of course
Yeah.
I did.
They set up fireworks over here. Getting started early.
Yeah. That's like the room the gentleman spent tons of hours in from the book I was reading called Human Tuning. Yeah. I mean, what did he do inside of there? What were the results of his thousands of hours of hanging out inside of there? Would love to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could probably do a lot with a room like this in terms of really focusing yourself and getting yourself over. I think if you could get yourself used to dealing with all of the weird stuff that you kind of hear from your own body inside this place, you would find that you actually don't get annoyed anywhere near as easily.
Yeah.
So I'm in my own kinds of formats of isolation therapy. I've had a lot of engagement with, well, like you're trying to really like focus and or be very still, and you feel your body constantly itching, or it feels like one of your fingers needs to like pop or something like that. Like all the time, your body keeps on kind of crying out for your attention, even though you're trying to focus your attention away from it entirely. And I think a room like this really amplifies, it's like a reverse amplifier. By killing all the other sound, you hear even more of your body kind of bitching at you. And it's really honestly like, I'm a firm believer that really our sensory experience is a function of our consciousness being separated into this dimension. Like it's a disparate experience. The actual experience functionally happens at a place you could call it sub or transdimensional to that, and that's actually like a functionally subdimensional projection of the experience that we're actually having, that is a byproduct of our need to logically catalog everything that we do. Otherwise, we feel very scared that we're not in the little compartmentalization in the box that makes us feel safe. So we put it into our five senses. And then there's all these senses outside of them, and we call them, extra sensory perception. And we call it, clairaudience and intuition and all these kinds of things. Like, I think they're literally just the same experience happening on every single level, and you just don't happen to have a box for those ones. You have a box for sight, taste, smell, touch, these kinds of things. But those aren't really happening. You're having a certain type of energy basically coagulate inside of you or conjugate inside of you, and you then put it into some kind of logical, be it psychological or mathematically logical type of experience, and you continue to apply logic to it until the box is stringent enough and identified enough that you feel safe having it around as though you have some kind of control over it. But I don't think you ever have control over the box. I think you convince yourself that you have control over the box, and then you feel safe to some level.
Or maybe not just control over the box, but just having an awareness that there's a framework brings some level of comfort because it's explorable within a context as opposed to being totally unknown, which most people react in fear, it seems. Something like that.
It seems most people do react in fear to something being wholly unknown. And it seems that the human mind, at least, has a constant drive to want to make sense of something, figure it out, apply reason, find logic, consistency, structure. something like that. I mean, that's pretty much the logic's game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the logic does that, and the other side of the brain basically cries out to come up with random stuff and be impractical and make jokes and things
Yeah.
like this. You know, they both they both require something out of you. And I mean, in a certain way, at least in my own personal journey, very much so, is it control? Uh, Having a better capacity for awareness of my own mental operations. Being super, like, I'm really being particular with words there. It has been a byproduct of me understanding where it is that certain parts of my mind are crying out for attention that I felt required to give to them, that I definitely broke free of the requirement aspect of it. It's a request at best,
Mm-hmm.
and I choose or do not choose to grant that request. And the process of doing that has been very, very weird for me personally, because a lot of the things and in very many ways in certain situations now I choose to completely just step over my logic or functionally ignore the logic, the request for my mind to logic something. I'm just like, no, don't feel like it. Like, no, we're just not gonna logic that. And a certain part of my body goes like, oh my gosh, that's dangerous. You can't do that. You must figure this out. You need to make sense of this thing. You must have some reason here. You're not safe out here. And that's exactly why I do it.
Mm.
Because like that fear that sits inside of there, the only way that that's ever going to go away is by me choosing to go and sit in it.
Mm.
And so I choose to not logic things. I
Mm.
choose to not have any idea why that is happening and move into the situation anyways. I choose to not search for the answer, because everything inside of me is screaming, you have to search for the answer, you know. That's some kind of conditioning. I don't have to figure out what kind of conditioning it is, but something inside my body says that I have to logic certain things. So part of my process has been bucking that idea of having to logic something. You know, I don't have to logic something. I never had to logic something ever. I chose to logic everything. And at a certain point in time, it became exactly the reason why I did not like my life. Was because I logicked everything all the time, and nothing all the mystery and wonder of life was gone, because it was all about like finding reason. Even if there was something that I didn't understand, to my mind it was logically just because I hadn't spent enough time trying to figure that out yet. The
Right.
answer was undoubtedly right there. You just had to look at the right data, and then you would know. And there was no like wonder, there was no excitement. The idea of like, I don't know, like go for a random walk somewhere, or like Bob Tacular, it's in here sometimes. He brought up the idea of like rando nodding, like that idea right there. That had absolutely no appeal to me whatsoever in that state, because I was like, yeah, so we're gonna spend some time illogically walking to a random location, just in hopes that something cool happens. Logic side of me says that's an inefficient waste of time about 99.9% of the time. And why don't we just plan to go and do something we know we will get value from? That's the obvious way to go. There's no way we're doing that stupid shit. That's totally how I would have responded to that at one point in time. Would have shut it down entirely. You know? This is from a long time ago, but this is a good point right here. If you can hear something in a song that you've heard 1,000 times before, when you got a new pair of headphones or speakers, that's when you know you got good speakers. Like the upgrade was definitely worth it. So, yep. So, Kevin, what did this person do in this human tuning thing? You say he spent tons of hours in a room like this. What was his findings? Hi, Samantha. Good to see you.
Hi, Sam.
Um,
Yeah, Kevin, you want to come on the show and talk about it?
yeah, Kevin
Sounds
was
like a
saying
good
that
Yeah.
Bo's stuff pretty decent. Bo's has been pretty decent in my experience too. I've never heard like any type of Bose component that I was like, oh my gosh, I've never heard anything like that before. But they were all like, this sounds good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not gonna spend tons and tons of money, this sounds good. for the cheapest price possible
Yeah.
is probably the way to
That
go.
works.
You know, almost
Yep.
guaranteed. So, yeah. The point really with that was that I think we engage in things with ourselves, that putting ourselves into isolation with ourselves will oftentimes be the best way to really get over that. And rooms like this could be very beneficial for that. I think we see that it instigates the exact same drive to run away from the problem in many, many people that just their life does. Yeah.
Sure.
They don't actually want to engage the problem. They want to get away from it as quickly as possible. That's fine. I'm not shitting on this methodology. If you want to just get away from every problem in your life, that's totally a way you could live your life. That's fine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking to engage your problems, then you need spaces that really bring those to the forefront. And you have to embrace the space because it's giving you what you want. You know? And these kinds of spaces are exactly like that, whether it be an isolation room or just literally putting yourself into isolation, like way out in the middle of nowhere. So you'll find all kinds of things that are just totally annoying to you that normally you don't realize that you would ever possibly get annoyed about. And that's really, really beneficial to sculpting the self. Good night, Angela. I hope you sleep well. It's like, well, night, good morning, I guess.
Yeah, good
5
early
o'clock
morning night, Ange. All her exes, no hugs, lots of kisses.
Aren't X's the hugs?
Are they? I thought hugs like a circle, like a hug. You know, your arms coming out. But I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I kind of
I
always
feel like
thought
I've had
of
this
like
discussion
you cross
before
your
at times, but I
arms
don't remember.
when you hug someone.
I guess so.
But I guess you don't always cross your arms, and you kind of always make an
oh,
O.
yeah, no, it was when you
But
purse
then
your
to me,
lips.
like O was like,
yeah, I guess so.
you know, like an O, like a kissy face.
Maybe that, yeah, maybe
I don't
that is
really
what
know.
it is, I don't
Which
know.
one is it?
Yeah, which one do you mean, Angela?
one is
When you
it?
wake up, tell us.
X
please.
equals what? O equals what?
Seek consensus. Let's vote.
Yeah. That's really what the real answer is, anyways, right? Like what the
The
general
consensus is?
average is
Yeah.
at any given point in time in culture.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even matter really, like what you make something for per se.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what is the value of Hamlet in the modern day? It's not the same as it was when it was written. It's not perceived the same way. It doesn't get applied to the same concepts. Not looked at the same.
Yeah.
Right. So regardless of what it was created to look like, and no matter how much effort was put into that, today
Yeah.
it looks like what it looks like based off of the cultural average. Right.
And the real question is, what is the value of scuffed Hamlet when it's spoken from a pants hallway?
There's no difference between regular Hamlet and scuffed Hamlet. Really,
A pants hallway is a little
especially
different.
if the people look at it and they think that it's funnier or more engaging
Yeah.
being done in some kind of scuffed format, or realistically, like it's more approachable, right? Like they could just go onto YouTube for free on some random channel and they could watch that thing happen. But to see a production of Hamlet by another company that's doing it all the right way or whatever, maybe they have to pay for tickets to that. They're never going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so intrinsically by that, the one that's done in the scuffed ass version and is available for free on the internet, that one is it exists,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that you'd have to buy tickets for functionally does not exist. So
Yeah.
it's not even a competition.
We
the
win.
scuffed one is better,
Scuffed wins.
right?
Yeah.
It's the only in this case.
And Jacob said X's are kisses and O's are hugs, and that's what I thought. So
Okay.
two against one so far.
I don't even care if I'm right. I've only ever seen them in XOXOXO, so
Yeah.
I know it means kisses and hugs. So
Good to know. What do you think a kiss sound would sound like in that room? Would it be disgusting? This big loud.
yeah, I mean, another thing that people get all weirded out about inside of that is the sound of like basically their tongue inside of their own mouth,
Oh,
or the way
yeah.
that it sounds when they swallow,
Yeah.
or
can see
stuff
that.
like this. Like when you swallow, you can hear your saliva going all the way down your entire esophagus and down all the way into your stomach.
Yeah.
And you know, normally there's a lot of noise around, so you can't hear that.
My tummy was super active the other night. The evening after doing the combo. Is it combo or cambo?
Depends on who's saying it. It's
Would-
spelled Kambo.
Yeah, so that's what I think it'd be cambo, but it's combo. You think? You don't know?
I call it combo
All right.
usually.
I'll try to remember. I keep saying it backwards or both ways. But Yeah, laying in the yard, my guts or my intestines were super active and talkative, and in a weird meaning abnormal, I guess, way. Not in a bad way. Like I didn't have to like run to the bathroom. It was just they were very, very talkative and moving. And for a while, it was very interesting. It's doing into my internal body. It's not just sounds. I mean, I feel like there's other biological processes going on there, especially after the combo and stuff. So, yeah, that's interesting. The body does talk. Body talk.
Probably. You know, there's a, especially when you're putting poisons inside of yourself, your
Yeah.
body's probably going to be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So, I mean, with anything that's like orally ingestible, I've never had an orally ingested psychoactive or purgative or really even like healing experience that like I ingested it through my mouth and it went into my stomach. That like that was a good time. It's really not actually that great of a time. Like your stomach deals with that, and that's not the most pleasurable thing usually. I mean, ayahuasca is fucking terrible on the stomach.
Mushrooms with like in a tea seems to be really good, easy on the stomach. Especially you can do even a little peppermint in there, peppermint tea or something settles the stomach, and then there you just have all the positive effects and the nasty gut crunching effects.
Yeah, I mean, you get the big positive of getting the chitin out of there entirely. Like our body does not even actually know how to process chitin. We don't have an enzyme that digests it.
What's chitin?
The whole meat of that fungus
Oh, okay.
is chitin.
So
And our body does not process that. So the only way that you can die from eating psilocybin mushrooms is because you eat so much that your stomach legitimately gets full. Because your body doesn't have any way to process it. And so if you fill up the entire tract with that, it will be problematic. You have to eat a lot of mushrooms for this to happen. Like a lot. But technically, this is a worry with every mushroom because every mushroom has a chitin. If you eat these mushrooms and you like sauteing them and shit like this, it's a different case because you're using like heat or potentially the other things you're putting on, and it breaks down the chitin, or at least starts the breaking of it down. So it's easier for your body to pass. But if you're eating just like dried mushrooms whole, that it's problematic for your body. Your body doesn't really have a way to process that. It can move it through it, but it doesn't actually like eat it like it does other things. So that's I always thought that was like kind of weird. The only way, the only way that you could die from psilocybin mushrooms that we know of, like there doesn't seem to be like a lethal dosage of psilocybin or anything in there.
yeah.
Was just simply that you like ate too much and your stomach couldn't deal with having that much stuff in it.
Yeah. Well, same thing with like water and stuff too. You can overdrink water and kill yourself. It starts to purge into it starts to overinflate all of the cells in your body, and you go into massive. I mean, I read this whole article on it, the science of it. What happens is it's a little terrifying, but it's just too much water at once. Your body cannot handle it.
Yeah. I mean, you go to like the Aristotle moderation in all things. Like anytime we're consuming anything, a massive consumption of the same thing all the time or for a long period of time, usually not going so great.
Unless it's salvia, you just keep consuming until you're convinced you didn't start yet.
I mean, an argument can be made. This is like you're trying to basically poison yourself with an herb. And once you get to enough consumption, you have poisoned yourself, and then you just are seeking the poisonous effect.
Yeah.
Really, like, yeah, you basically drown yourself.
Right.
Yeah, it's functionally the same thing.
And from the inside out, like the cells literally get drowned in fluid, so it offsets the entire biological process, and yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, not so good. Got to be careful with the consumption of stuff. I try. This is part of the reason why like I don't like really standard scheduled life where you do the same shit every day. Like the consistency, security that some other people look for in their life. The idea of like I have career security, but I need to go to that job. I got to be there by 8 o'clock. I get off at 5 every day. And then, like, I want to have a home life security. So I'm married to this person, and we got this house together, and we're going to definitely be together forever and all this stuff. Like, and we have, these concepts inside of your life that this is all going to be static forever. That does not make my life better. That is horrifying to me. Like, that's the worst thing that could happen is that I would sit here at this point in time in my life and go, all right, I'm going to be able to do exactly this for the rest of my life. Like, no, absolutely not. I love the fact that I have absolutely no idea Like what a year from now looks like, no clue.
Mm.
Not a clue. Don't know what I'll be doing to make money. Don't know where I'll live. Don't know who will be in my life. Don't know who I will be. Don't know how I will think of it. My entire worldview could change in the next year. I'm completely fine with that. So just the point is just that like I don't even like that kind of security. Like I avoid that shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's not actually. I can't even say it's a void because I've lived in that space. I have chosen to live a different way because that was like it did not feel good to me at all. You know, I didn't like it. It wasn't giving me the same things that or the things that I thought I was trying to get from it. I was not getting those things. You know.
Yeah.
Didn't make me feel like anything positive. Really, it made me feel trapped.
Well, so like from my experience, I feel like so now I'm living out the other side of it. So I've been in a structure and a marriage and things for a long time, and then now being single, not in that dynamic, and living life in that way, it's totally different. And I can see the benefits and the pros and cons of both. So I feel like the structure itself made sense to me. It made sense as a functional framework within which to expand and have joy and accomplish all the things that my heart desires to accomplish, whatever that means in this life or experience. But then also the framework I'm in now, obviously I can see that also being a way to experience many other things that I couldn't experience within that framework. So I think for me, both of them are fine. Like different times in life, I'll probably be in a relational framework, and then other times I won't. And they both, I feel like I figured out the equation, at least for me, how to make that enjoyable and beneficial and not something that I wouldn't ever want to do, you know, or consider. So I don't know. Maybe part of like whatever life puts me in a situation for circumstance for time, it's like finding a way to, or like we were talking about the other night, like finding a way to make fractal patterns out of it. You know, so that no matter what construct you're in or lack of construct, you can make fractal patterns out of it. I guess that's the ultimate goal.
No, that's kind of what Jasmine's saying here too. I kind of do the same things the same way every day. I might do the same things every day, but I do them different daily.
Yeah, totally. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's like ideal if you are going to have that consistency to your life. I think in certain ways I would really I mean I know very clearly that I am outside the norm in this one. Like I love chaos. Love it. The unknown void, no clue what's going on. This is completely illogical. Great. I'm totally at home there. The idea of like consistency, like I'm like, huh. No, I don't know. It's not that intriguing to me. Like,
was it the thought of consistency without change? Because when I say consistency, I mean that consistent environment. But if you're in a relationship, it's where both people are growing, enjoying each other. There are new dynamics, new situations, new conversations, but it's old conversations too. But whatever, there's consistency, but there's a consistent framework within which to have novelty.
I mean, reality is a consistent framework within which to have novelty. You don't need to add anything in specific to get that.
Yeah.
You literally can't be like, this is the beauty of my position to my mind.
Yeah.
1% of reality is logical and consistent. The other 99 is an unbelievably chaotic void space. So, like, you know, I'm fine with people having their consistency. I'm also just, to my own schema, aware that you basically live in 1% of reality. 99% of reality is complete, utter nonsense to the logical mind. And I love it. You know, I understand why other people are much more interested in other sides of it. Like, most of, like, what I like about that illogical reality is not functional at all. Like, it doesn't help you live your life. It doesn't help your day go better. It won't get you more money or help you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or help you raise your kids or anything like that. It's fucking nonsense. You know, it's total nonsense. So I like that though, you know. I just don't have the same drives for these, like, you know, any kind of consent. I don't really like it. You know what I mean? I don't like to even like listen. I don't like to listen to the same music every day, really.
Right.
You know, like every day when I wake up, I'm like, what did I listen to yesterday? I'm not really interested in listening to that again today. Try and find something different. Okay, so the guy that was inside of the room, I'm gonna come over here and like post this in chat or something. We'll just go in here. I don't know whether all this will send at once. So, it's sent in two. That's fine. The guy that was in the room from the book that Kevin was talking about he figured out how to heal the body using frequency, like any disturbance to the body. That's a big paraphrasing of it. And what it said in the book was biosonic repatterning is an energy medicine approach to sound therapy developed by Dr. John Bolu, I think. Biosonic means life sound. Biosonic repatterning is a process of tuning into and aligning the rhythms inherent in nature with our life sound. So, yeah, I mean, I think like alignment to your own reality. Any science that is based off of conjugation or coherence, I'm sold. You got me. I'm interested. It probably works. That's going to be my thought on it immediately. If you're like, well, it brings it into coherence with something that was already there in a bigger dimension, I'm going to be like, that's a functional thing. Okay, you got something there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff that doesn't do this, like, you might have something there for like 100 years. But then your little house of cards is going to fall down. So, like 100 years from now, nobody's going to use any shit like that. That isn't based off of stuff like this. There's just, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. For me to explain the abilities and capacities of really just every single format of device being built around maximizing the functions of phase conjugation and the energetic and thus data and information transmission capabilities of conjugate spaces that are fully coherent. There's no fucking way that anything that we're doing right now is going to get anywhere near as capable as these things. Not a chance. It's going to overhaul the entirety of our technology once we actually have it like something that we're able to continually scale, and it's something that we're going to use all the time. There's no reason to be doing anything the way that we do it right now. We will do it all a different way, and I suspect that will probably be pretty much like becoming the standard in 100 years from now. So, you know, certain places will be done the same, but basically everything that runs energy, like, why not do it differently? It seems it's just more efficient, so cheaper and things like this. You know, I don't know. No one knows right now. If someone knew, we would already be doing it. So I feel you, Zach. Everyone in my family and my husband's like to give me opinions about setting routines for my son and potty training. I might be lazy to them, but I really just let him make his own choices. He doesn't like sitting on the toilet and hates going to bed early. Yeah. I mean, I can only speak from my own personal experience. I feel like my life has turned out just fine so far and is only getting better. My mom did not make me do any of that shit. My mom basically didn't make me do anything ever. And a lot of people really gave her shit for, you know, oh, well, you let your kid do whatever he wants and stuff like this. But, like, I don't really see what any of the problems were with it. And it seems like it was probably a lot less work for her. You know?
Makes sense.
She didn't have to hound my ass about doing this, that, and the third all the time. You know? She let me do what I wanted, and I did it. So, but he has his own rhythm. Yeah, I mean, like, in a certain way, to, like, respect your child or another person is to, like, let them be themselves, right? Not try to change them or try to force them into some kind of box that whatever somebody has decided this is the box you're supposed to live in. You know, they're probably wrong. You know,
Probably,
good chance.
yeah.
Really good chance they're
sure.
wrong. I don't think I've heard very many times in my life where somebody was like, that person needs to live in this box. And I was like, you're definitely right. I'm not sure I've ever heard that. You know, you're possibly right. I give him that. You know what I mean? But such is the nature of subjective context, right? Like, you might be right, but there's also all these chances over here that you're wrong. There's actually a bunch more chances that you're wrong than that you're right. This is the 99.1% thing that I was just talking about before. Their structure, their right way to do it is a 1%, not even 1%. I'm being very generous with that. It is one option out of all the possible options that could ever exist in all possibility, and the likelihood that they've landed on exactly the one that is the right way for you, and it just so happens to be the way every single other person does it. Not good. Not a good chance, you know? I don't know. These things fall under very, very small amounts of inspection, you know? So for every parent that's ever told their kids, you got to go to university and get a degree so that you can get a career so you can be happy. Well, there's a guy out there who got a better degree than you from a better college and has a better job and makes more money than you'll ever make, hates their life.
Yep.
Every single one. If you don't know them, just look for a little while. You'll find them. They're out there all over the place. You know, I've worked with and talked with people from all scales of having money or having stuff in life that you're supposed to, or not having shit, you know? And honestly, like I would say there's more happy people on the lower end of the scale towards the not having shit than there is on the high end of the scale from having a bunch of stuff. Most of the people that have a bunch of stuff, like, oh, honestly, yikes. So they got so much shit that they're supposed to do. I'm responsible for everything on the damn planet, and everybody needs to listen to my methodology, and because I make $1 billion. Like, I don't know. And it breeds some weird people, too. Like, they act different. When you can buy people's wildest dreams with an amount of money that you do not realize it went out of your bank account, you act different than other people. It's a thing. It's a resource disparity. When someone has a whole country's worth of resources and normal people have a person worth of resources, they don't act the same.
Yeah, no shit.
It's just all there is to it. Why would they?
That's where money loses meaning in a way that doesn't.
Would you act
other
the
people.
same if you could buy Nigeria? Would you act the same as you do today? No, you wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't. Would you deal with that annoying ass person at your job if you could buy, South Africa?
No.
No, you wouldn't. Would you deal with being together with a partner that does shit every single day that drives you nuts if you could buy Uzbekistan? Probably not. Yeah.
Depends on where you're with them, I guess. If they drive you nuts, maybe
Why-
you really like that. And you want
I just don't understand.
You want to own Uzbekistan and have them
When
drive
we
you nuts.
insinuate that someone drives you nuts, we're intrinsically stating that you have a negative emotion towards those actions. So you can't also then like them driving you nuts. That would be, counterintuitive to the statement.
Well, you can if it's like a trauma pattern. So you'd like it enough to not actually ultimately get rid of it, no matter how much money you have, because there's some level of comfort in the dysfunction that you say you don't like on a daily basis versus actually not having that.
But
in your
that's
life at
not
all.
not liking it. That's liking it. You just say you don't
It's not-
like it because you're a
exactly.
fucking liar, not because you do like it actually or don't like it actually. You have one stance, and if you say something that is not that stance, then you are inauthentic to your reality, which we have a shorter word for, which is liar. And if you do that in any capacity inside your life, it's not changing what you want to what you don't want, and it's all some confusing pattern. No, you're a fucking liar, and it's a straight answer. It's always a straight answer. People don't give straight answers because they're afraid. The same box that keeps them secure, they're afraid that they're going to someday put themselves into one of those boxes that's going to get hit by a fucking wrecking ball 2 seconds later. So a lot of times they're super afraid to put themselves inside some kind of box. They don't want to have an opinion. They don't want to sit center stage and say, I'm this. This is what I believe. This is what I stand for. Because something else might come along right away and be like, yo, what you stand for is fucking stupid. And they're not going to be able to stand up for it then. And realistically, if you're not able to at that point in time, well, maybe you aren't actually supposed to have your own opinion. Maybe you do not have the prerequisite things inside of you to have your own opinion. I've had my own opinions my entire life. Haven't made a lot of friends because of it. Fine with that. Probably would have thousands more friends if I would have just, took the herd opinion or did the thing that was most agreeable. Not really my style. Not really the way that I do things. I would rather be authentic to myself and have absolutely no friends than be not authentic to myself and have 1 million friends. No doubt about it. So, most people, not the exact same thing, at least not inside of the modern America culture. I can't speak for everywhere else. Haven't lived there. Lived in modern America. I could speak even more specifically to the places I have exactly lived. But most people, not like that. Probably not like that other places in American culture. So,
there's a bunch of them up there. All these active
I heard
comments.
this woman at work today saying she was working all these extra hours to get a down payment on a house. I thought to myself, that is so unappealing to me currently. Now, if in the future I'm able to purchase some property because of the success I had from my endeavors, music, touring, etc., then okay. That will become my safe space to create in the future. But to become a drone and slave to a routine with that as a primary goal is what I find unappealing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, in a certain way, like I mean, if you want to be like kind of rough on what they're really doing there, it's like their dream is to find some way to do something they don't actually want to do, so that they can purchase a very effective casket.
Hmm.
So there's a song by one of my favorite artists, Aesop Rock. That he says, to paraphrase, in a certain line, he ends up saying, "Still decorate your office with rainbows and dolphins, basically awake in a coffin."
Hmm.
And he's speaking to this exact same thing. Like, people find this pleasure inside of getting this like secure space and these things that they need in order to be safe, and they miss out on their entire fucking life doing it. Like, they spend their entire life making sure that, like, well, the lights are going to stay on, and I got that extra. This is the greatest one. I have a guest bedroom inside of my house. I pay more money in property taxes, rent, building costs, heating, all kinds of other things. But fucking drives me nuts when other people come over to my house and want to stay inside there. What the fuck do you have a guest bedroom for if you don't want to have guests at your house?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many houses in America have guest bedrooms inside of them, and those people don't want guests that come by ever? Most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them. They're not actually interested in having any kind of communal space. Their home is their little safe space away from the world. They're not interested in having other people over there. In their best interest, they would not have that extra bedroom, or they would use that extra bedroom for something where they were like, no, even if you come stay over here, you can't sleep in there. Like, that's my studio, stay away, or something like that, because that's what they're trying to treat the space as anyways. You know, how much do you pay, how much of your life do you need to work in order to have that guest bedroom that you don't want your in-laws to come stay in because you don't like them, but you won't tell them you don't like them because they're family and you got to stay together?
Mm-hmm.
You don't fucking like them. If you don't tell them you don't like them and you keep doing shit with them, you're a liar. Facts. Fucking facts. No one wants to admit it to themselves because, well, it's the right thing to do to be nice to your family and stuff like that. No, when you feel a way about something, to your soul, the right thing to do is to be authentic to the fucking feeling. Not pretend that everything's okay because, well, that's just how dad is, you know? Like, don't talk to him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine with me. You know, like, it worked out fine in my life. I've talked about this before. Some people don't even have the choice, right? Like, you can't say that you can't do this because some people's parents die in a car accident when they're 5 years old and they never get to talk to their parents. So you definitely could, you know? So people oftentimes justify their lack of authenticity with some type of societal structure that they are required to be engaging with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, you know, it's blood's the most important thing, or whatever. Like, blood family.
Right.
You know, everybody says that until Uncle Jim is like a rapist serial killer, and all of a sudden they let him rot in the clink.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But, you know, like Aunt Mavis, well, we got to keep dealing with her passive-aggressive bullshit every day in and day out because she's our aunt, and, you know, you got to respect your elders. And no, you don't. You don't have to do anything.
Well, you can respect your elders
You know?
by still creating your space away from them if they are causing you disruption in your life. It doesn't mean you have to allow them in. That's not respecting them. It's disrespecting yourself. But you can respectfully respect your own boundaries and push them out of them.
Sure. I mean, I'm speaking with the colloquialisms of the standard individual that would be buying into these constructs. You know, they say lots of these, I have to do this and I'm trapped like that and there's no other option.
The perception, I have to respect my elders. Okay, one, you don't have to, but I do agree that it's beneficial to respect your elders, but not in the way you're talking about it. So let's dissect
certainly not
that.
in all situations. It's
Right.
not
Well, does that
beneficial
mean
to
you can
respect
never
your elders.
disagree with them? Because that's not what I mean by respecting your elders. You know, it's like the words, or people think well, I got to respect my elders. What does that mean to you? Clearly, it doesn't mean the same thing to me because I also agree, but not the way you're living your life. You know, like actually dissecting what the word is. What that means to them. But again, it's just an excuse because really they don't want to confront the situation. So it's just something they threw out there to justify living in the shitty situation or choosing to stay in a situation that is not ultimately ideal for them.
Yeah, and for me, it's to give away their own fucking power.
Sure.
They would rather be powerless in the situation than admit that it's like, well, you know, societal constraints says I'm supposed to act like this, but fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck society's constraints on me. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no context to my life.
Mm-hmm.
They have context to some little illusion more often than not that they live inside of, and they think that they've gotten it figured out. But when they're at home at night, laying in their bed, they're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, going like, what the fuck is really going on here? What am I going to do? You know,
Mhm.
like I got to figure out how to get these things that I want. You know, yet then they turn around inside of their day and they try to tell everybody else how to get them. That's what, like, I don't have any pathway to how to get shit to sell to you here today. At the end of this, I have no resolve for you. The only resolve really at the end of the day down this line is to just listen to your heart, be authentic, and see what happens. It's scary. Yeah. But the other way is to fucking lose yourself into a delusion of security that you will never find security inside of.
Yeah, it's a general spectrum of black and white. I mean, there's like a million paths in between too, but in general.
I don't believe that there are a million paths in between. I believe that buying into societal and cultural functions are a delusion that 100% of the time leads you away from yourself. As the great Terence McKenna said, culture is not your friend. Buying into the beliefs of your life based on any type of outside context is a farce that will lead you to bad places.
I understand.
100% of the time.
But it doesn't mean you just throw out societal
Sure it
precepts.
does. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Actually, in my personal belief, yes, it does. You throw out societal precepts entirely, and you base it on your own precepts. And if those precepts are not functional for your society, it's altogether possible that you do not fit with your society. You do not
Totally.
fit with that culture.
I agree.
Maybe even go so far as to say, like, maybe you're actually a bad person.
Okay.
You know? It's altogether possible. There's nothing wrong with being a bad person. It's just the inverse to a good person. And it's a subjective perspective on your operation that is likely a societal context. And so, to your own personal perspective, could technically functionally be meaningless. So who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not important.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk to pretty much all my dad's side of the family because they're just that toxic. Even my dad cut my grandma out. They're leeches and vampires. Yeah, I mean, I hear that. You know, seen that a lot inside of my life with various people's families and such. That, like, if they're trying to actually enhance their life and make their life better, their families, the people who are actually doing the most to opposite of help them out, right? Like, they're purposely hurting them in a lot of cases. Our family does this more than anything. Like, they like to hold these restraints over us. Like, the requirements of what your parents want from you, even in your older age, and what you're supposed to do because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people live their entire life in a town that they hate, working a job that they don't like, because their parents' requirements on them were that they were going to be able to take care of them when they got older, and they were going to take over the family business. They have no interest in the family business whatsoever, and they hate whatever this town's name is in Nebraska, and they would do anything to go there and do anything else. But because the societal construct is that, yeah, you know, you got to take care of your family when they, you know, and all this, they literally basically sacrifice their entire life away to live somebody else's life.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but you're painting, like, the broad strokes of very black and white scenarios. Like, there's a million people in between that who aren't necessarily in a situation that's quite that dark, or they're moving towards their own progressive freedom, but they're in a society and they're living by constructs as they're phasing into new constructs that they're adapting to and changing their belief system. And, like, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It just seems really intensely one way or the other right now, all the time, always. And we're all in the middle of progression and developing and learning and growing, and, like, so
I mean, I think it is one way or the other. I think that we have certain different levels of delusion where we go, well, this amount is okay. You know,
well, okay,
doing it this little bit is okay, or it's okay right here, or it's okay right there.
Right.
Yeah, I
but,
mean,
but everybody's
not
subjective.
really.
Like, if it is for you, who the fuck am I to say that's not okay for you? It's fine for you if that's what you want in your life. Like,
I mean, anybody else can believe whatever they want. You
Right.
know, this is me standing in my opinion of what reality is.
but you're saying an opinion as this is what it is for everyone else. They're either a liar, or they're delusional, or they're pursuing their truth, or there's no in between.
You're either authentic or you're a liar. There's only two choices. And if you lie 1% of the time, you're a liar 1% of the time, which means you're a liar. You have now ruled yourself out from being an authentic person.
Or you're an authentic person who occasionally tells lies, because we're all hypocrites and we're
No,
all liars.
authentic person is someone who is authentic.
Uh-huh.
Someone who occasionally tells lies is occasionally not authentic, thus is not an authentic
So
person.
do you believe someone
wholly.
can be an authentic person 24/7 all the time?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually much easier than being a liar even 1%.
So what about when you communicate information that you didn't know wasn't true, or you did know was true, but you said something and
You should
missed up, or
manage your
you-
communication of that in such a way that you are not claiming it to be some kind of fact.
Sure, that should always be refined and get better and better, so that you're not speaking out of your ass in a way that you are clearly saying things.
Well,
that
one
you
should
don't
always
mean or
avoid
saying.
speaking out of their ass.
Yes,
you know.
agreed.
You should not opine on things that you do not consider yourself qualified to opine on. You should just say, I don't know.
Right.
It's very simple.
Or say, I don't know, maybe this.
Why say maybe? You don't
Why
know.
not? Why
You
not?
know? Because I mean, then that's where we get into the scariness of postulation inside of that. So when we bring in that maybe, now we have to mince verbiage all over the place to make sure that this maybe is getting kept in the space of a maybe instead of an actual solid any kind of an opinion. But really actually having these without already knowing means that we haven't really done any experimentation. We don't have the observation. We're trying to create a mock experiment inside of our head with a thought experiment so that we can get some type of hypothetical observation. This entire space is a space created by a hypothesis, a maybe, where we then run a hypothetical experiment to get hypothetical observations, trying to pretend that we're not engaging with some type of hypothetical bias in that process,
You're
which
clearly
we are.
engaging with the hypothetical bias, and clearly that's the intention, to create a new framework for a new perspective that maybe it's accurate, because I wouldn't have thought of that unless I create a hypothetical bias that I could enter into and engage that circumambulatory thought process.
This is where, Jacob, you got me here on one angle. If they are authentic to the fact that they are a liar all the time, and they will happily tell you, look, I lie constantly. Like you would never know whether I'm lying or not lying because I lie constantly. In this case right there, they're being very authentic about their lying. But if they were to say, I'm an authentic person, but I lie all the time, well, they're lying right now. They're not an authentic person. They lie all the time.
Unless they're an authentic liar that lies all the time.
No. Yeah. Do you not understand that some words are mutually exclusive? You cannot operate with authenticity. So you could have an authentic Babe Ruth baseball, but only actually the B was written by Babe Ruth.
Okay.
Is that real?
Is it really signed by Babe
No,
Ruth
it's not real.
realistically? No,
This is functionally the idea of someone being able to be a liar and authentic at the same time. It's not an authentic Babe Ruth baseball. It's a bullshit Babe Ruth baseball.
Or it's a Babe Ruth baseball where the B was signed by Babe Ruth, but not the rest of the words. So tell
Right,
the person
and if
when they're
someone
buying
tried
that,
to sell it as a Babe Ruth baseball, you'd be like, you're a fucking liar.
Yes, in that case, yes. When you're trying to sell a fully signed Babe Ruth baseball, but you know that it is not, and you are selling it, then yes, you are a liar, and that is not authentic. Agreed.
Right. I
so
mean,
in specific situations, but you're making broad strokes here that are like...
No, this is a broad stroke. It's literally the definition of the damn word. Define authentic, of undisputed origin, genuine. So if the origin is disputed because 1% of the time it could be a lie, then it's not authentic. You can't be authentic and sometimes not. Then you're not genuine.
Okay, I'm just trying to...
It is a broad stroke.
I get what you're saying, though.
The
it's
idea
like
to try and
know
short
everything,
stroke
so how do you
it
communicate information being genuine when you... I mean, Jesus Christ.
You clearly identify where you don't know something.
What about the room for people to misstep, though? Misspeak. It's okay.
You
were a liar. There's subconscious programs.
Why? That's a good question. Why do we provide space for someone to misspeak when they could always think before they speak?
But they didn't. They're
But
human. It's
they
okay
could.
to provide space, but they didn't.
I could choose to reserve myself instead of freaking out on someone and completely ruining their day.
Right.
But instead, I did completely freak out on them and ruin their day. But that's fine, right? Because I could have done the other thing, but I just couldn't.
It's not fine. But one, why is it
But
ruining your
it's
entire
fine
day
for
if
them
somebody
to
freaks out on you? Why did it ruin your whole day? Maybe it ruined
completely
that moment.
superfluous question to the
No.
actual point that we were getting to
No,
here.
because how is someone controlling your reality that much? If they're freaking out and you don't want to be in the situation where they're doing something incoherent,
This
remove
is
yourself from
this
the
is
situation.
this is a tangential question.
Okay.
Entirely. So
what's back to what we were on before that?
the entire point with this
being
was
a liar,
you're
having space to say something when you misspeak, giving someone space to misspeak, and not having to...
when someone misspeaks, what does that mean? This intrinsically means that they spoke without spending enough time to think about what they were going to say. This is widely thought throughout philosophy as a thing that is never a good idea. Speaking before you
throwing
think
a pin without thinking about it, like that whole dynamic too. Being able to say things without having to think first, just to kind of see what happens. That's what came out. I mean, is that a misspoke, or is that? I mean,
that depends on what happens because of it entirely.
Like how would you correlate that to the throwing the pen thing? Like you're talking about, like the novelty. Like you did an action, trying to do it without thinking, right? Or in that moment, it was just a reaction in a sense, right? Or a thoughtless action. Wasn't that the point of that context?
It was far from thoughtless in that case. It's actually it has an unbelievably large hypothesis behind it, which is that if I do something that is completely random to the current scenario, out of what would be anywhere inside of the standard set of what is probably going to happen, then I would come out of this. It's an extremely low probability action. I couldn't do a no probability action because I would have no possibility of doing that action. So the closest I can get is a very low probability action, which is something that would be very unlikely to happen. Like I throw my pen across the room. It's not a thing that I normally do. I normally keep my pen in my hand and, set it down if I don't want to be holding it anymore. I don't just randomly toss it out. So.
Okay.
It's actually like overtly thought out in that case. Overtly thought out. And I think people justify not thinking things out because they would rather not think it out.
I think people can. That's what you're saying, though. I feel like you're saying everyone who misspeaks is because they don't care enough and they're not thinking hard enough. And I guess, but that's
that's every time I've ever misspoke in my life, and I talk constantly.
A really rigid way to live. I get it. I'm always aware of those things too. I'm not saying don't be aware. It's not a spectrum. It's not like you're either aware of it all the time and you're always not misspeaking or being very, very careful, always getting massively better, or you're not caring about it at all and always misspeaking. And it's like the spectrum. Ideally, yes, towards this end of the spectrum where everything is in alignment with it, congruent with our internal reality that ever comes out of our mouth.
First and foremost with this, I think we need to talk about how misspeaking is you're associating a lack of authenticity to misspeaking. This is very easy to get around and have that never ever actually happen and still maintain your authenticity. You simply go, I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but this is what I'm thinking in flow or whatever.
Right.
And this is just being completely authentic to what I'm saying in the moment. And by the end of that, everybody might go, that was the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Or they might go, that was the most profound thing I've ever heard.
Or anywhere in between.
Or they might say, it didn't even sound like those words made any type of coherent sense.
Right.
They could say anything in
what
between.
You're saying is you set
but
up
you're
context.
Still completely authentic to what you're doing in the moment.
Okay.
And someone, even someone technically being a liar is authentic to who they are in the moment. They're not authentic to it because they're trying to pretend they're telling the truth.
Okay.
If they were authentic to it, then they would be like, look, I don't care whether you give me money right now. I'm lying about that. But I really don't care whether you give me any money for my services right now.
Sure.
Right? They're still being completely authentic. The nature of a liar is to try and use the lack of authenticity to get basically unearned rewards in some way or another. Okay. So they're trying to manipulate a situation to their benefit, even though it has not actually been, we'll say, rationally that it should have gotten to that place.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to lie. They're not going to tell you that they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
So, so a lot of people, you want to find authentic liars, look at most of the earth right now. Most of the earth is completely willing to tell a lie when it behooves them. If you think you're not one of those people, ask yourself whether or not you would be willing to lie if you had a gun to your head. And you will probably find that you would be willing to lie. Mm-hmm. You would be more than happy to be tell those people whatever it is that they wanted to hear, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Because is your life really worth your authenticity? Probably not. Probably not for most people. There are people out there, a few and far between, who some specific thing, their life is worth it to them, and in some of those cases, it is authenticity. These people are rare, extremely rare, especially on the planet at this point in time, because we have very much so normalized an idea of basically being a liar. It's okay to be a little bit of a liar, a little bit. Everybody knows, you show up late 10 minutes for work, and you got some kind of bullshit story, and everybody lets it slide, but they know the real reason you were late 10 minutes to work is because you fucking hate this job. You don't actually want to be here. You don't take it serious.
Right. So just
it's
say
not
that
important
instead.
to you, But if you come into work and you tell your boss, sorry, I'm 10 minutes late again. I just really don't care about this job at all. That usually doesn't go so well for you, right?
Yeah.
They're like, why don't you just work, walk right on out the door with you not caring about the job ass, So they don't say that. Instead, they're like, oh, yeah, dog ate my homework. Sorry, man, won't let it happen again, right?
Sure.
But they choose to sacrifice their authenticity in exchange for the job,
Sure.
And I think to them that is fine. I think they're overlooking the actual implications of choosing to be inauthentic with their reality in any way. But it's not surprising to me that they overlook these. I overlooked these benefits for a long time because I had just literally never tried being completely authentic about stuff.
Sure.
It wasn't until I tried to be completely authentic about stuff that I went, wow, this actually has a lot of benefits that I just didn't expect there to be.
Right.
I didn't even necessarily think there were going to be benefits. I just was on some fucking pilgrimage against being a liar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, this actually has helped me out in a lot of ways, actually.
Right,
like,
yeah,
I'm
no
glad I
doubt.
went on this pilgrimage. There's a lot of loot over here,
Yeah,
or
no
whatever,
shit.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. A lot
But
of loot over here.
like, it's pretty much what it was, right?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I went on some fucking crusade against lying
Yeah.
and realized that, well, actually, along the path of authenticity, many riches lie to be found,
Yeah.
you know? So I recommend
sure.
it to everyone.
Yeah.
It's so much easier for your life, you know? Like, I didn't realize just like how much of my unconscious and subconscious mind was convoluted by the fact that sometimes I thought it was okay just to fib a little bit about what I was doing, or it was a little okay to kind of twist the data like that to more benefit me and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My other formats of myself, very much so, and my conversation with my psyche, if you want to just talk about that at like its deeper levels or more unseparated levels of the psyche, they fucking did that shit too. They lied too. It was okay to twist data here and there, and it was okay in all the most important places. It seems like,
Yeah.
you know. And that conversation don't go like that anymore, you know. Like I have no trouble seeing the bullshit that I did in my life. Like I've noticed inside of this hour and 30-minute long podcast right here, at least 4 or 5 things that I'm like, man, you still do that bullshit, you know. Like, I catch myself all the time because there's constantly this completely authentic conversation inside of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I do something, I'm like, wow, you're a dick.
Right.
Or whatever, you know? But there's no, like, ain't nobody trying to, like, skirt around the side or be tricky with anything inside of my own head, right? But this
Right.
is just because of the dedication to, like, being authentic or completely genuine or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Functionally the same thing. And I just never even saw those things before that, like, I was even doing those. It wasn't until
Yeah.
I decided to go with it. It's easier to not lie, but still catch myself in those white lies. Like the day I canceled my gym membership that I paid for a year and went like 3 times, and I was already thinking of the lies to get out of the contract. Yeah, that's the thing. This is why nobody wholesales themselves into authenticity, because they're like, it would be the best if everything was authentic. I really don't want to pay his $300. You know what I mean? Like, so
What's
I
funny,
understand.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, even the gym thing. I mean, even the authentic thing. I mean, you can get in ways like you don't have to. I mean, I guess it's maybe a fear of confrontation or being resold. Some people don't like to be resold. They want to have a really good reason so they don't get resold when they're trying to cancel or something. But like, you just stick to your guns. I don't want to pay for this anymore. Well, what about this? No, I don't want to. I'm canceling. I don't want. You don't even have to give a reason. I don't want to, but that is your reason, is it not? Why would you have to go and get anxious to create an elaborate story of why you don't like just hold your ground and cancel that shit? If you got to talk to somebody, nope. No, thank you. Nope. I don't want a lower price. I want to cancel. Nope. No, I don't want a free month. No, I want to cancel. Cancel. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that works great until they're hitting you with like, well, since you already signed up for it, you are required to pay for the entirety of the year, and so we're gonna go ahead and keep all that money, even though you aren't using it. I understand that your kids need to eat, and money is really difficult for you right now, but fuck you, we need that $200 for our
gotcha.
gym.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
Okay,
mean?
so then
And then in that case, you're like, well,
I gotcha.
actually, I mean...
So in the authentic dynamic, then you're saying, so it would seem to me in that dynamic, you're canceling the membership because you need to cancel it. You already signed a contract. You got to pay. That is what it is. So that is not an avenue where I can have less money going out every month, even though I need to feed my kids. So I need to find another avenue. That is what it is, as opposed to, well, I need this money, so it's okay that I lie to make up an elaborate thing to get this canceled contract and get my money back. Because the bigger, the what is it? The ends justifies the means.
Sure.
So that being an example of sacrificing authenticity for a dynamic like that?
I mean, I wouldn't sacrifice authenticity for that dynamic. I would call a gym and tell them I'm not gonna fucking pay for this anymore, and they'd be like, "Yes, you are," and I would be like, "Actually, I'll put a stop payment order on this." No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, there are ways around it, but I'm saying if someone were to, the thought process of that, where people go through that thought process of having a level of where they're authentic, but then, well, in this situation, it's okay to not be because of the bigger picture or something. And
yeah, that's always their answer. And then the question comes to like, but are you actually looking at the bigger picture? Are you just are you looking at the slightly bigger picture?
Right.
What is the bigger picture? Do you even know what the bigger picture is? I've been looking for the bigger picture for 25 years at least. I still have no fucking clue what the bigger picture is.
It keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, like I thought I saw the bigger picture at least 11 times now, and then I on several of those occasions I got like sold into it and figured that it was very clear to me that I had figured out all of the secrets of the universe. There was no reason that I would ever need to learn anything, like to the point where I was like, actually, a human having this information that I have right now, this is not fair. This is completely unfair. And then still after that realized like, oh, nope, still don't see the bigger picture. This is the bigger picture now, right? So the real question is, do you actually see the bigger picture, or do you just see the biggest picture that you see?
Yeah. We always see the biggest picture you see.
What even is the bigger picture?
Right.
What if your imagination is really the bigger picture? And in that case, the more that you've seen, the bigger the picture gets, right? 'Cause the more that you can imagine, the more
until one day you take off the headset and you were playing Roy in an arcade at some point. You wake up in a pod or some shit. Well, there's a whole other bigger picture, but like who fucking knows? You don't ever know what the big picture ultimately is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They basically told me about getting a refund. I can cancel, but I have to pay 1 more month. I mean, I think that's good. Like, see, in that case, right? Like, if the authenticity spills over the whole way, then the gym would also need to be authentic about the fact that, like, let's say not in your case, but in some case where they were locking the person into the year-long contract, they would have to basically be like, yeah, well, see, but we're not going to cancel your membership and we're not going to stop charging you because we're a bunch of fucking scoundrels that want to take as much money as we possibly can out of you, especially if you're trying to cancel your membership with us. So we're going to take as much money as we can possibly get. And based off the contracts that you signed, we can take you all the way for the rest of the year if you cancel early. So we're going to do that because we're a bunch of fucking scoundrels. Does that sound like a very good business plan? Nah, man. That's like a bad choice for your business.
Yeah,
like,
a little bit.
You don't want to be saying that shit to people. But if the authenticity really was everywhere, then their policies would have to change because they wouldn't want to say that to people. That would guarantee destroy their business. So they would have to format their business in some way where they have a very, well, in this case, a very approachable or, good for the customer type of, system built for this. Otherwise, they'd have to admit that they're assholes. We can't give you that. We're profiteering scumbags. We're going to need it. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the nature of most businesses in the capitalistic society at this point in time. They would have to be like, well, you could ask them at any time, why do you charge that much for that? And they'd be like, well, because we're profiteering scumbags. So, really the only thing that matters to us is profit margin. Yeah. So we pay people as little as possible to create the things that we want. And then we mark them up as much as we possibly can and utilize all types of hypnosis and other type of societal positioning tricks to get you to believe that our piece of shit actually has more value so that we can charge you immense amounts for it, even though it's not even the best version of itself on the market.
Yep.
You're going to need this new iPhone.
Yep. Pretty much.
And this is all over the place. But like, if they had to be authentic, or if people and realize this had to be authentic, like in any corporate place, the buyer has all of the power. If you believe that any type of corporation runs the world, like you're seeing things incorrectly. Corporations only exist because consumers purchase things from them. If the consumers stop purchasing things from them, their policy immediately changes to stuff that is more profitable because they're about making money.
Yeah.
So the consumer, the person with the money, the bottom feeder of the economy, basically, they're the ones that are able to get something from basically nothing. These things extract something from something, and that something has power over their entire structure. So it's impossible for a corporation to actually be in control. If everyone boycott them or they had absolutely no one purchasing from anything in their umbrella, they would be completely defunct immediately. So a corporation can't actually have control over anything unless someone gives it to them. And it's a large group of someone's. It's a group think that gives it to them. So that's impossible. Same thing goes for really any type of archonic structure whatsoever. Like, if you look to the function of an arch, right? The function of an arch only actually has any stability because of the weight that's coming down on it on all sides. Like when we build arches out of blocks, in like ancient castles and such, where it's a bunch of rocks stacked, right? If that was just there by itself, it's fairly easy to knock over. If you put all kinds of stuff around it, it's an extremely strong structure, given how much material you have utilized to create that space. So any type of archonic structure is always, it has to be supported by something. and it has to rest on top of something. If that thing completely changes, the landscape completely changes, completely inside of metaphor. No matter how good the arch is inside of your castle, if there's an earthquake that destroys the entirety of your castle, it's also going to destroy all of the arches inside of it. An archon is never stronger than the ground it rests on. It's impossible. The ground it rests on can just completely throw out any type of agreement to it, and then it is powerless.
Yeah.
It's very
makes
easy.
Sense. Well said.
So, in any kinds of these structures, whether it's the corporations or the governments or the Illuminati or the whatever it is in your life that has some type of control over you, realize no, it doesn't. It actually doesn't. Not any control that's not given to them. And we give this stuff away by a whole bunch of different ways, you know? Like, the whole concept that, like, a single person can't change the world is kind of, in many ways, like, we give it away right there, right? You can definitely change your own world. You might not be able to change every single person's life on the earth, but you can make a huge difference in your own life.
Yep.
A huge one with 180 degrees of difference. You know, you can be any format of yourself that you really want to be. So this idea of giving away that power to something else, that's, if you're not part of your own plan, you're probably part of someone else's. You know.
Yep.
And if they're especially on the corporation level, if they're like a corporation that's hell-bent on selling you goods, well, I mean, their plan is just to drain you of funds, right? Like, do you really want to be part of that one? You know, like, that's not a very good plan to be a part of.
Yeah.
So, that's, one of my best friends was a pathological liar all the time, told stories to impress girls and just over the dumbest shit. We gave him the nickname the man who told the truth. Yeah, I mean, I've heard and seen so many of these telling stories that, like, it's crazy to me too when the pathology gets to the level where they start telling like lies that can be fact checked, like that they won some kind of large competition or something like that, and you're like, you know, I can just look this up, right? Like, you're not here.
Yeah, they do it all the time. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how actually like people lack critical thinking or discernment. Like, if they had good discernment, there'd be a lot more questions for someone that made some type of grandiose claim. And the idea of going around being like this pathological liar of any value to the liar themselves would basically be out the window, right? Because they could never convince anybody of anything that mattered anyways, you know? Be like, oh, like, I can stack 3 beer cans on my head, and everybody be like, fine, whatever. Like, who cares whether you can?
Right, yeah.
That's fine. Who cares about that? But when they start talking about, like,
I could stack 200 Mountain Dew cans in
are
my closet?
I know everything there is to know about starting up a business and everything you need to know for marketing. If you have an idea, just me and you should talk, and if we work together, then I'll be able to get you all set up with everything that you need, and then you can work from home for the rest of your life. And they fucking literally have absolutely no idea how to do that. Like, they don't know the first thing about it. They watch, like, a YouTube video of a guy who said that it would be, like, a good idea to run your own business, and now they're basically trying to sell it to somebody else. These people exist. These people legitimately exist. Many of if you start, like, doing anything in, like, coaching or anything in advertising or anything in marketing, you start your like Facebook and social media feeds turn into a real weird place real fast, because you got just all these people that claim to know all the secrets of everything about getting someone to look at something on the internet, and 95% of them have not ever generated a result in their life. Like, not any kind of a result. They all talk like they are fucking Harvard-trained marketers or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. And there's many other spaces where it is like this. People just blowing smoke all over the place, acting like they're amazing at something, when they really, honestly, like, they learned last weekend how to fucking do this.
Yeah.
They don't know shit. And if you don't have discernment and ways to, like, check people's credibility and stuff like that, then you're never going to know. You know what I mean? You just you're subjectable then at that point in time to someone who does this kind of shit. I think pathological liars are hilarious, because I never fall for their pathological lies, but I get to watch them say all this stupid shit. You know what I mean? It's hilarious. It's like, to me, I sit there and I watch it. I'm like, you actually think anybody's ever gonna believe that?
Right.
You know? Or just watching just the psychological function of that situation, that it's, you know, this person they're trying to mold this whole situation in all these different ways, and how deep that shit will go too. Like, it's crazy how deep a pathological liar will go. They'll manipulate like entire ecosystems basically in order to make it so that their lies look real. It's pretty incredible.
Right.
Like, if you look at it objectively, just from the quality of their creation, it's pretty incredible. Some of the things that these people create, they'll get a whole like multiple families of people around them completely bought in on the idea that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, when like anybody with even that's like ever looked at a school that had a psychology department is like, wow, that person has some serious disorders and their entire family is being affected by them, you know. So it's amazing, really, that they are capable of pulling it off. It really is a testament to how much that the human mind is really actually capable of when they put themselves to it. You know, create an entire, just like, it's a whole like wonderful little castle, but all of it's just made out of thoughts and manipulated situations and stuff. It's an enormous castle without it being made from a single brick. It's crazy. I was trying to do blogging for a living, and all the blogs that tell you how to make money from your own business make money from telling how to make money off of blogs and never had a real business. Yeah, it is. It's this circle jerk of bullshit where the way that they're making money is by telling other people how to make money, but no one in that funnel actually makes any money. So well, some of you might have seen this on social media recently. That, well, there's a lot of these different things that go around. The most recent one that went around was like the idea of this. They were calling it an abundance loom, and the idea was that like you paid $100 each time that you moved forward on the abundance loom, and when you were at the center of the abundance loom, you got $800. And so from the looks on the surface of it, without any discernment at all, it looks like basically I can put in the worst case scenario, I can put in $700, and when I get to the center, I get $800, so I make $100. Well, if you use even just a slight little bit of critical thinking, you go, where the fuck did the $100 come from? Right? How are people at the center of it getting free money? That's not a real thing, right? It can't just magically exist. So you start digging into the function of the thing. This is a fucking scam that's been around for a really long time. You start digging into the function of it, you realize that eventually someone's always going to lose out. And realistically, it's the last person to join the loom all the time. They can't possibly actually do anything but break even off of the thing, but unless they're capable of getting 8 other people into this idea, they're never going to make any money. And technically, each one of those people has to functionally be scammed out of what they're being sold to get into the thing, which is the idea that you make $100 free bucks. Yeah. Right. So you definitely, if you understand what's going on there, you can make some free money. But it's not coming from nowhere, okay? Yeah. Like, if you really want to do this a good way, I'll give you the hack right here. You start your own abundance looms. You never do anything but start them. You get in cahoots with, like, the next 2 or 3 people so that you can start these all the time, and they will look like they have people on them. Then, functionally, you just run the looms until you and your couple of buddies have gotten their payout. Then you abandon that loom and start another one. And you just keep doing this over and over. Because you guys start at the center of the loom, you have very minimal investment for very large return. So you just start making all the looms. Don't ever join a loom, make them. If you just make them, realize you can pitch other people on this, guaranteeing them that you'll do all of the work and say that they get even less money and increase your take because you're getting a percentage of all these other people that you're telling to join the loom, but you're going to make sure that it actually doesn't work, it actually gets all the way through. The entire thing leverages off your ability to basically sell a raft of bullshit to someone else. If you can do it, you get some free money. So if you can do it really well, you get a lot of free money, because if a person like me was running abundance looms, I'd be pulling like several $1,000s a day out of every single abundance loom, and I'd probably be running about 25 at a fucking time, just pulling every single dollar I could out of people. I would rather shoot myself in the face than rip people off for money like that, but it's completely possible. The schema just unfurls in my mind as soon as I see it. I'm like, wow, I could take all of the money inside of this entire loom, basically, just by like plugging fake accounts into the right places, and then the money passes off to them, and the fake account fucking disappears, and the fake account is me proxied through other shit, transfers the money over, just straight up ripping everybody off, making the loom until it gets to a certain point. It's all just me, no one else. It's me and random unsuspecting visitors who are about to get ripped off for their money. That's a schema that could exist. It could have existed in any abundance loom you ever joined, because you would have no way of knowing if they do it right. It would look completely like unique people. But, someone at the very core level, free money doesn't appear out of nowhere. So if anybody ever says, well, it literally just makes $100 exist. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
No,
work
it doesn't.
Like
No, someone's getting ripped off.
Yeah.
If you're okay with their getting ripped off, fine. I'm okay with that. But also realize you could be ripping them off for a lot more through a better methodology. So if you're really trying to rip people off, maybe go about it some way that actually works good.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anyone in that group. What was this? This is weird. I found you guys basically because I joined an abundance loomer called a mandala. Yeah, I've kind of just let it be. The people in the group are pretty genuine about being a community and building friendship. This is like this format of it, like a lot of the people, the methodology by which people are attracting through specifically the one that they call an abundance loom. They're doing this whole thing of that it's based on trust and based on sharing and based on community, and you're doing it as an expression of unity and these things. Like, it's a good sales pitch. It's a good angle. It's a good angle if you're spreading it around, basically like the unity, spirituality kind of place. That's exactly what you would want to think, and it's going to attract people who are that. But and in some cases, I think I know of a person that has started these that I think they are a good person and they are genuinely inept to the fact that this is a fucking scam. Like, they genuinely do not know. I'd say, and so nevertheless, here I can answer this question right here. I don't know if I'll get my money back, but I'll see. If I ever do, I'll let you know. This will be completely based off of your willingness to finish out that loom. If you're willing to finish it out to make sure that it gets to the point where you are in the center of it, it is a 100% chance of return. You will get it. And with the glory of social media, it's very easy to get people to do these kinds of things. These kinds of things were run back just inside of little local communities and stuff. It was just much harder to do it at a big scale because there was only 1,000 people in the little town. Now over here, you're on the internet and it's Instagram has got 4 billion users or whatever, right?
Yep.
So
the one right above it.
The account that linked me to the person on the loom linked me to Golden Age Alchemy, who linked me. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Synchronicity.
I'm confused about that. Yeah, you don't want to add more people. I definitely understand that. That's if they want to continue, they can, but I don't have the energy for it. That's the thing. At some point in time, it's gonna find that person, and when it finds that person, that's where the free money came from. You know what I mean? It's just the reality of the situation. Somebody's not gonna have the energy to follow up with it, and it's kind of like a weird form of Russian roulette, right? Like, the chamber keeps spinning, and the person who gets to the middle gets all of their money back until it stops spinning, and the persons that are left on that loom all get shot. Right? It's basically what it is. It's musical chairs, except for when the music stops, nobody left on there gets any of their money back. You know what I mean? And how much have they put in at that point? Well, that depends on how long they've been committed to getting farther and farther down this loom, right? So it's critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen. We need it bad. Don't spend your life trying to get other people to have it, though. I already tried that. It won't work for you. But please, if you care, use it for yourself, to save yourself, right? Don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it for me. I'm actually not even asking you to do it. Do it for yourself. It will help you massively. So,
agreed.
That's pretty much all I got to talk about tonight. I can't even believe that I even ranted like that. It's a weird rant, not normal to my energy on here, but I am actually, if you really get to know me, I'm fucking huge on authenticity, and I don't really like to, I don't fuck around with bullshit. I don't like bullshitting. I don't like shit being slow. I don't like people being indecisive. I don't really like any of that shit. I like people to just own whatever the hell they are in the moment, and then I accept them for being that. I'm totally fine with whatever they are. Just don't pretend to be something else, And I don't know.
Makes sense.
I appreciate you guys all being here. 14 people didn't leave immediately. That's nice of you.
I've been here most of the time. It's almost 2 hours. It's been great.
That's awfully nice of you. Jasmine, I hope you get your money back. But since you don't want to have more people, maybe not. It's all right though. It's just $100 or whatever, right? Hopefully it's just $100. So maybe they'll continue it out, and they'll finish it all the way at least up until you get it, which is like then you really hit the lottery.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what
a
I mean? It was ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie, Kevin. I honestly don't know what your last several comments are even in reference to.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow. I don't know, but I'm glad you guys are having a conversation and enjoying it because Kevin's got good stories.
I love all you guys. Kevin, I'd like to get you on here to talk to you about music again soon. And also, I'd like to work with some music with you. I got stuff like more set up now. Yeah, I mean, Jasmine, we all lost some critical thinking. That's how we got here in the first place. Yeah. You don't really end up with like a world that looks like this being filled with critical thinking. So it's a yikes for some people. It's gonna be a difficult ride for them, I think, with the lack of critical thinking. At any rate, love you guys. 8 o'clock every night, 5 o'clock for Jen.
Love you guys.
1 o'clock on Monday for Angela. Other stuff, descriptions, like, subscribe, share, social media stuff. Love you. Hope you have a great night.
See you tomorrow night.
Bye.
Bye.